Hey guys, Jeffrey here, finally back from my Wisconsin adventure. Overall, had a good time, but I am very discombobulated being back. I spent over 8 hours in a car yesterday, and when I got home, I kind of slept like I had been hit in the head with an anvil, and there is still like some significant portion of my soul is still trapped in that bed over there. So you'll have to forgive me if I seem a little too sluggish. This is going to be one of my objective personality typing videos. It's going to be pretty hurried. I'm going to be typing Mr. Kobe Bryant, who we all know, even NT nerds like me who have never taken a step outside. So I don't know what the takeaway is. I found him really hard to type. He seems really balanced, very measured, and despite that difficulty, I do think that I've landed somewhere in the proper vicinity. So let's get to it. So the first thing that I'm picking up on is some major self over tribe vibes. Basically, you can kind of look at the plot trajectory of somebody who's self over tribe as being really focused on initially building up the self, refining the talents, just building character, building a skill set, and then giving back to the world. Once you have satisfied that need to refine yourself, then you give back to the world. And one of the very first things that he ever said to Shaq, his teammate, was that he plans on being the greatest player who ever lived. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. So you can see a bit of that mentality there. And now that he has retired and his basketball career is behind him, he is engaging in all of these projects where he's kind of giving back to the world. He's become a storyteller. He has started the Mamba Academy where he's trying to help other people, build themselves in the same way that he refined himself. The second thing that I'm picking up on is that he seems to be a double decider. I think that this might be a little bit controversial because he is known for having some interpersonal difficulties on the court. But I do think that if you step outside of the court and you just look at his life as a whole, you do see a sense of balance. Whenever he's talking, he will enter other people's headspaces really easily. Like, you have to consider where so and so is coming from. What would you do in that situation? And he'll also make very broad claims about, well, when this happens to people, this is what people do. Like, he's just very capable of treading into another person's headspace and occupying that territory. And in all of these creative projects that he's been engaged in post career, he's very good at, like, he's working on a children's or a young adult book series called the Wizenard series, and he's very fluid with acknowledging his contribution to that project as the idea man, and then also granting credit to the guy who's doing most of the writing legwork. And he also wants to do some Broadway stuff, and he knows people that he wants to contribute to that project. So he's just very aware of other people's talents and how they can intermingle with his particular skill set, his particular uh, project plans. And I think that this is all supported by the fact that for him, the place he really seems stuck is the information. He does want to be the best player, but in order to get there, he has to obsess over footage and think about strategies and really nitpick the details of what's happening. And it's a very obsessive thing. And then I think that you can again see that emphasis on information through the fact that now that he is into his retirement, he is concerned with storytelling and sharing information in that way. So it's a consistent theme in his life. I'm also thinking that this is Savior TI as opposed to Savior FI if he is indeed self over tribe. There's a lot of talk about reasoning and analysis and strategizing, and I think this is all supported even further by the fact that one of his big obstacles was appreciating the fact that he needed to have compassion for the feelings of his teammates. And it's not even that he was lacking compassion per se, it's more that he didn't understand how their feelings would impact their gameplay because for him, that's just not an issue. So I think that we are seeing Demon Effie there. I also think that he's consumed Overblast, so he's been spending the entirety of his adult life learning all of these things, and now he feels comfortable bringing broader principles that he's learned to the world through storytelling and through, other methods like the Mamba Academy. I also think that he is S over N, so you can see that on the back end of his life, he's become more concerned with creative endeavors, and he's also really harping on this Mamba mentality thing, and he defines that as being a very curiosity based project. And I see curiosity for him as being code for intuition. It's moving away from the narrow confines of the sensory prison that we all live in. Help. I'm also thinking play over sleep, and maybe I'm just getting derailed by the fact that he is actively playing with other people and learning how to be a better player in the context of a team. But it also just doesn't seem like he's very conserving or preserving of his own personal energy. If he's not on the court, then he's reviewing the tapes. He's up at 4 in the morning, hitting the gym, practicing ball. And the final thing that I looked at is whether or not he is info dominant or energy dominant. And I really struggled with this one because he is engaged in a very energetic kind of lifestyle. But at the end of the day, the info does seem to be what matters to him. I have to get this stuff right so that I can play well. And that would mean that he is missing sleep, which I think we can see because he is a very playful person. He's always engaged in witty banter with the interviewers that he's talking to. And I think it's also, just to move ahead here, I think it's a very feminine DE kind of banter. And then I think that he's masculine in the sensory because he's very concerned with getting this physical execution of ideas right. Um, so that's I reckon. So that leaves us with masculine, feminine, SETI, consume, play, blast, sleep. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for sharing, commenting, all of the above. I'm out of here. I think I might go take a nap. Ta ta.